All right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today we're going exploring the world of digital maps and location tech with CE Info Systems Ltd.
Better known as
Yeah, but you probably know them better as Map My India.
Map My India.
They're the big name behind those advanced maps and all that geospatial software, and even the location-based IoT tech that you're probably using every day without even realizing it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's true. They're everywhere. They're like the unsung heroes of location. What's so fascinating to me about Map My India is how much they're evolving.
Yeah.
We've got a whole stack of sources here, company reports, investor presentations. We've even got some articles that folks have written about them. And the picture it paints is really pretty exciting.
Okay, so let's jump right into it then. Let's start with the numbers.
Yeah.
Map My India just released their Q2 FY25 results, and honestly, they're not messing around.
Yeah.
Their revenue grew by almost 14% compared to last year, hitting a cool ROS's 104 crore this quarter.
Wow.
And if you look at the first half of the fiscal year, they've already hit R's 205 crore. That's almost 14% growth there, too.
That's pretty impressive, especially considering that the market overall has been a little bit shaky lately. Even Sapna Ahuja, the COO, she mentioned those challenges in one of the reports we've got here.
So they're growing even though things are a little tough. That says something about how they're approaching things, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It shows they're really adaptable and they know how to navigate these tricky situations. And their profit after tax is up too, by almost 2% for the first half of the fiscal year, reaching our 66 crore.
Okay, but I'm sensing a but coming.
Okay, but this is where things get a little more interesting.
Okay, hit me with the complexity. I'm ready.
All right, so while their overall profit is up, their EBITDA margin actually dipped a bit.
Is that a bad sign?
That's what you would think.
Yeah.
You would think, but it's not that simple. It's actually a really calculated strategy on their part.
Okay, tell me more.
So they're putting a ton of resources into their consumer business.
Okay.
Like the Mapples app and all those really cool gadgets they're developing.
Right.
And it's a smart move because that market has massive potential. But it does mean they have to sort of sacrifice a little bit of profit margin in the short term to fuel long-term growth. They're playing the long game.
It's like taking a hit now to knock them out later.
Exactly. It's like a strategic sacrifice, right? They're setting themselves up for a massive win later on.
And speaking of future wins, what about this big news about their joint venture with Hyundai AutoEver in Indonesia? I mean, this is a big headline.
Oh, yeah.
They're forming a whole new company called PT TerraLink Technologies.
Yeah.
What's the play here? What's the strategy?
So it's all about cracking open that Southeast Asian market. Indonesia is a gateway to the entire region, and this joint venture is going to give them a massive presence there.
So this isn't just like a side project. This is a serious, strategic play. What are we talking about here in terms of impact?
We're talking multi-million-dollar revenues over the next 5 years.
Wow.
They're going to be providing all sorts of map-based solutions across Southeast Asia.
I mean, they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Oh, yeah.
They've already invested $4 million for a 40% stake in this new venture.
Yeah. This is the real deal. And it's not just about getting new customers either.
No.
This is actually going to benefit their existing customers too.
Okay.
Because it expands their reach, expands their capabilities, which means they can offer even more value to everyone they work with.
That's a win-win. Now let's take a closer look at their different business segments. So we've got their automotive and mobility tech segment, or A&M for short, and then you've got the consumer tech and enterprise digital transformation segment, which is C&E. What can you tell me about those?
So A&M is doing phenomenally well. We're talking almost 20% year-over-year revenue growth for the first half of FY25.
And in Q2 specifically, it was even bigger.
Oh, yeah, 27% growth year-over-year, hitting almost R's 61 crore in revenue.
So A&M is like the star of the show.
Yeah, it is. It's really tapping into all the excitement around new vehicles, especially EVs, which, they've been deeply involved in for a while now.
Okay, so A&M's the star. What about C&E? Hasn't been quite as flashy, has it?
Well, C&E has a slightly different story.
Okay.
They did see about 8% growth in the first half of the year, but their revenue actually dipped just slightly in Q2.
So one segment's booming, the other's facing a little headwind. That's definitely something we need to dig into.
Oh, we'll definitely unpack that.
But before we do, I want to highlight some of the recent wins because these really showcase what they're doing and the range of what they're doing.
Totally.
So they've got deals with major automotive players, Hyundai, Kia, Mahindra, you name it.
Yeah.
They're even working with EV companies like Aether And commercial vehicle giants like JCB, I mean, they're everywhere.
They're everywhere. And it's not just individual companies either. Remember that AIS 140 thing we were talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Well, they've been instrumental in implementing the back-end system for this new standard in the state of Maharashtra,
Okay.
which is all about making commercial vehicles safer by using those tracking devices and improving emergency response times.
So it's not just about getting you from point A to point B, it's public safety too.
Public safety, exactly. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. They've got this whole arsenal of tech solutions,
Yeah.
from stuff for self-driving cars and EV management to video systems for fleets, tools for developers, and even something called 3D digital twin mapping.
Hold on. Back up. What is 3D digital twin mapping?
So think of it as like creating a virtual copy of a city or an environment
Okay.
in incredible detail, like a mirror world,
Mhm.
being used for all sorts of things, from urban planning to disaster response. Map My India is right at the forefront of that.
That sounds super cool, kind of sci-fi.
Totally.
And then, of course, there's their consumer app, Mapples.
Don't forget Mapples. Yeah, their downloads have just exploded, going from 10 million to 25 million in just a year.
Okay, wow.
So clearly they're really resonating with consumers.
So before we get into the deep analysis, I want to hear what Map My India's own leaders have to say about these results.
Yeah. Well, like we mentioned earlier, Sapna Huja, the COO, she was very upfront about how challenging the market conditions have been, but she also highlighted their strong performance due to their existing orders and the fact that their team really came together.
So a mix of realism and optimism.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I'm curious to hear your take on all this. What stands out to you? What are some of your biggest takeaways from these results?
Honestly, the first thing that jumps out at me is the contrast between their two segments, A&M and C&E. A&M is like on fire,
Yes.
while C&E seems to be facing a little more friction.
Yeah, that's a really great observation. That's one of the most fascinating things about their performance this quarter.
What do you think is causing that friction in C&E?
Well, it's a completely different ballgame than the automotive world, wouldn't you say?
Totally.
I think a few things might be going on. They could be facing tougher competition in that space, And it's also worth noting that their consumer efforts, while they're really promising, are probably still in the early stages. It takes time to really gain traction in that market.
Right.
And remember all those investments we talked about, the ones that are impacting their margins?
Yeah. A lot of that is focused on building up C&E.
It's like they're planting seeds that haven't quite bloomed yet.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
But what's interesting to me is that their management doesn't seem fazed by this.
Right.
Like they're taking a long-term view.
It takes guts to stick to your strategy when the numbers aren't all sunshine and roses.
Totally.
But it sounds like they're really convinced that this is the right path.
So it's a bold approach.
It's a bold approach, yeah.
Yeah.
They're not just reacting to market trends. They're actively trying to shape them.
So we've got this really fascinating picture of what's happening right now. But I also want to know about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What does the future hold for Map My India?
Well, they've got some big plans.
Okay.
They're talking about reaching even more customers, continuing to invest in cutting-edge technology, diving deeper into that consumer market,
Okay.
going global, and even exploring potential acquisitions.
Whoa. Let's slow down. Let's unpack that a little bit. Let's start with those plans to reach more customers. Where are they looking to expand beyond their existing base?
Well, one area they're really focusing on is the government sector.
Okay.
They've already had some significant wins there, like that AIS 140 project.
Yeah.
They see huge potential there as more government agencies start adopting this kind of location-based technology.
That makes sense.
Right. Governments have massive amounts of data and complex operations.
Right.
Location tech could be a real game changer for them. And then, of course, there's this whole world of product and technology development.
Yeah. What are they putting their R&D dollars into these days?
They're innovating across the board, but one area that's really exciting is their work on advanced mapping technologies.
The futuristic stuff.
Yeah, the futuristic stuff. They're talking about 3D, 4D, even HD maps.
Okay, 3D maps we talked about a little bit with digital twinning, but 4D, I mean, what is that?
4D maps, think of it as a map that updates in real time with incredibly precise details. Like you've got a live, breathing model of the world right there at your fingertips.
Wow.
And that has huge potential for navigation,
Yeah.
traffic management,
Yeah.
even disaster response. I mean, the possibilities are huge.
I'm kind of blown away.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
They're an Indian company on the forefront of all this. It's pretty exciting.
Absolutely. And don't forget those global ambitions.
Yeah. So we talked about the joint venture in Indonesia, but what other plans do they have for international expansion?
Well, they haven't spilled all the beans yet,
Okay.
but they've made it very clear they want to be a global powerhouse.
It's a bold ambition,
It is.
but with their track record and how fast the location tech market is growing,
Yeah.
it's definitely possible. And it sounds like they're not just looking to grow on their own, they're also exploring potential acquisitions.
Exactly. They're actively looking at companies that can help them break into new markets or give them access to that really cutting-edge technology that would complement their existing portfolio.
Okay, so we've talked about financials, we've talked about the future, but before we move on, I want to bring our listeners into the conversation here.
Mm.
So with the rise of EVs and connected cars, how do you see MapMyIndia's role in the automotive industry evolving in the years to come?
That's a great question. I mean, it really gets to the heart of where this industry is going.
They're already so embedded,
Yeah.
but as cars get smarter and more connected, it seems like their role is just going to get bigger and
Oh,
bigger.
absolutely. I mean, they're not just providing maps anymore. They're laying the groundwork for the future of mobility.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Now, before we get into our final thoughts for this part of the deep dive, I want to, again, turn to our listeners.
Okay.
So we've talked a lot about how MapMyIndia is shaping the future of mobility, shaping the future of the digital world. But how do you see location-based technologies impacting your own life in the years to come? Just something to think about.
Yeah. I mean, location is becoming so central to our digital experiences. And the possibilities are pretty much endless.
Yeah.
You know, think about personalized navigation, augmented reality experiences, even those hyper-local services that are tailored to your exact location.
It's amazing to think about how something as simple as location is driving so much innovation.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about getting from point A to point B anymore. It's about connecting with the world around us in these new and really exciting ways.
And MapMyIndia is right there leading the charge.
Yeah, they're not just building maps, they're building the foundation for a more connected, intelligent, and personalized future.
Absolutely.
And honestly, it's pretty inspiring to see an Indian company doing this on a global stage.
Totally. MapMyIndia is like a shining example of what's possible when you take a deep understanding of local needs and you combine that with a global vision.
Yeah, and we'll keep exploring their story.
Uh-huh.
I'm excited to see what they do next.
Yeah, it really is fascinating to see how they're at the heart of so many trends.
Yeah.
Electric vehicles, the connected car market,
Yeah.
the whole importance of location data. Right.
And even things like the metaverse.
It's true. They've got their fingers in a lot of pies.
They do.
But it's not just about being in the right place at the right time, is it? You've got to make the right moves to take advantage of those opportunities.
Exactly. They're not just riding the wave, they're steering the ship, right?
Right.
And their strategic partnerships, like this joint venture with Hyundai.
Yeah.
That's a big part of that. They're creating these alliances that give them access to new markets, new technologies, which lets them grow faster and smarter.
So it's like building a network, not just relying on their own efforts.
Exactly.
And it's not just about big corporations either.
Well,
They're working with governments, developers, consumers. It's like this whole ecosystem.
it's this whole ecosystem around location. That's a key point.
Yeah.
They're not limiting themselves to any one sector or customer base.
Yeah.
They're casting this wide net and creating value for everyone involved.
And it's a smart strategy, especially in a market that's, changing so rapidly.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about the people behind all this technology.
Okay.
What about MapMyIndia's plans to attract and develop and retain top talent?
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be so important for a tech company.
You're absolutely right. That often gets overlooked, but it's essential. They need those highly skilled engineers, the developers, to build and maintain these platforms.
Right.
So attracting and keeping those brilliant minds is key.
So how are they doing on that front? What's their secret weapon for attracting talent?
Well, it's not just about offering competitive salaries.
Right.
They're giving their employees a real stake in the company's success through this ESOP scheme.
Ah, so they're sharing the rewards, making everyone feel like an owner.
Exactly.
Right.
Creates that sense of ownership and really motivates people to go above and beyond.
Good.
And they're not just focused on bringing in new talent either.
Okay.
They're also putting a lot of resources into developing the skills of their existing workforce.
Which makes sense. The tech world moves so fast.
So fast.
So you have to be constantly learning.
Absolutely.
So what are they doing? What kind of initiatives are they taking?
Well, they've got a whole range of training and development programs to keep their employees at the cutting edge.
Okay.
They want to make sure everyone has the latest knowledge and tools to really excel in what they do.
It's a smart move. And it not only benefits MapMyIndia, It also helps grow the tech talent pool in India as a whole.
It's a win-win.
Okay, so let's zoom out again.
Okay.
Look at the bigger picture here. How do MapMyIndia's results reflect the overall health of the digital mapping and location tech industry as a whole?
Right. Well, their strong growth, especially in that A&M segment,
Yeah.
suggests that the industry as a whole is doing really well.
Right.
It seems like the demand for these technologies is just skyrocketing.
But we also talked about some of the challenges they're facing in C&E.
Right.
Does that signal any potential headwinds for the industry?
That's a good question. It's hard to say for sure without more information. It could just be they're facing some specific challenges in that one segment, not necessarily a broader downturn. It's something to keep an eye on, though, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. What about the competition? Who are they up against? How do they stack up?
Well, they're definitely up against some heavy hitters.
Right.
You've got global giants like Google. You've got strong local players.
Yeah.
But one thing that really sets MapMyIndia apart is their deep understanding of the Indian market.
Yeah.
They're not just copying what's working elsewhere. They're creating solutions that are specifically tailored to the needs of Indian businesses and consumers.
And that local expertise
Yeah.
is a huge advantage.
It's a huge asset, especially in a market as diverse and complex as India.
Right.
It gives them a competitive edge that's really tough to beat.
Okay, so let's kind of recap some
Okay.
key takeaways from this part of the deep dive.
Yeah.
MapMyIndia is a company that's really on the move.
Yeah.
Strong financial performance, ambitious plans,
Right.
a real vision for the future.
They're riding the wave of innovation in this industry and making really smart moves.
Yeah, building that ecosystem,
Mm.
forming those partnerships,
Yeah,
investing in people,
absolutely.
expanding into new markets.
Domestically and internationally, yep.
They're not without their challenges,
Mm-hmm.
but their leadership seems confident in their ability to overcome them and achieve their goals.
Playing the long game.
And they're doing it all while contributing to the growth of the Indian tech sector and the economy.
Absolutely.
Okay, so before we move on to our final thoughts,
Okay.
I want to turn back to our listeners again.
Okay.
We've talked about how MapMyIndia is shaping the future of mobility and the digital world, but how do you see location-based technologies impacting your own life in the years to come?
It's a great question.
Just something to think about.
Yeah, location is becoming so central to our digital experiences.
Right.
The possibilities are almost limitless.
Yeah.
Personalized navigation, augmented reality experiences, even those hyperlocal services tailored to your exact location.
It's amazing to think about
Yeah.
how something as basic as where you are is driving so much innovation.
And it's not just about getting from point A to point B anymore.
Right.
It's about how we connect with the world around us in these new and exciting ways.
And MapMyIndia is right there at the front of that transformation.
They're not just building maps anymore. They're building that foundation for this more connected, intelligent, and personalized future.
And it's pretty inspiring to see an Indian company playing this role on the global stage.
Absolutely. MapMyIndia is a perfect example of what happens when you combine a deep understanding of local needs with this global vision.
You know, it's funny when you think about it.
Yeah.
Location is something we kind of take for granted,
Mm-hmm.
but it's becoming this powerful force in how our world works.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about finding our way around anymore.
No.
It's about connecting with the things that matter most to us.
Absolutely.
The people, the places, the experiences.
And that's where a company like MapMyIndia comes in.
Yeah.
They're not just mapping the physical world, they're building that digital infrastructure that makes those connections happen.
They're like the architects of our digital reality,
Yeah.
helping us navigate not just physical space,
Yeah.
but this whole world of information and experiences.
That's a great way to put it.
And they're doing it with a commitment to accuracy and innovation
Oh, yeah.
and user experience.
It's clear that they're not just in it for the money. They really want to make a difference.
And for those of you listening who want to explore MapMyIndia's world for yourselves,
Yeah.
check out their website, take the Mapples platform for a spin. We'll put all the links in the show notes.
Yeah, it's worth a look. You'll be blown away by what they're doing.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, from navigation to those advanced mapping technologies,
Yeah.
even stuff for developers.
Sure.
They're pushing the boundaries of what's possible with location data.
Well, that about wraps up another deep dive.
Yeah,
We've covered a lot of ground today.
we have.
MapMyIndia's financials, their strategic outlook, their
Wow.
impact on the world.
It's been a pleasure unpacking all this with you.
Yeah.
I hope everyone listening got a better sense of this really remarkable company
Yeah.
and this exciting industry.
We've seen how they're handling a changing market, how they're building that ecosystem,
Yeah.
investing in their people, expanding into new markets.
They're not without their challenges, but they seem pretty confident that they can overcome them and achieve their goals.
Yeah, they're definitely in it for the long haul.
And doing it all while helping grow the Indian tech sector and the economy.
Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
We hope you enjoyed the ride, and we hope you'll keep exploring this fascinating world of location tech with us in future episodes.
Until next time, keep asking questions, keep learning.
And keep diving deep.